All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dimes and Donuts podcast, your deep dive into the Bad Owners Fantasy League. My name is Garrett. This is Nick, and the playoffs are officially here.
How's it going? I'm hyped. I'm so excited. I am so excited.
I don't think I've been hyped for anything other than maybe my team in their own playoff runs, like in real life. But This is amazing. So what we've done this week is we've gotten interviews from every single team owner that will be participating in the playoffs, including, the people that had bye weeks, although I didn't want to include them. Nick said that we should. So everybody will be talking and giving us predictions. And yeah, that's kind of all we're going to be doing today.
Yeah,
no dimes,
we're just going to go ahead, skip all the awards, skip all the whatever, because we all know what everyone really wants to get to. Just take time and let's just hear what all the playoff teams have to say about what is going to happen over the next 3 weeks.
That's right. If you are CD's Nuts, Point Break FC, the Dallas Clovers, or the No Robins, I am so sorry that you guys are not included this week. Hopefully your teams do better next year. And remember, you will be heavily featured in every single draft episode that we have coming up. You guys will be the featured players there. We have not forgotten about you. But that being said, let's jump right into our first bracket from Prad of the Irving Indica. All right, so first on the table, when we break down everybody's playoff rankings, their predictions, is going to be Prad of the Irving Indica. Now, Prad, you have had an incredible season this year. You have the number 1 overall seed, which not only secures you a bye week, but also bragging rights. You are the first number 1 seed in Bad Owners history. I'm sure that feels amazing. So yeah, why don't you just take us through everything you've got for us today?
Let's see. I am the first ever number 1 seed in Bad Owners history. It felt, I'm not gonna lie, it felt incredible 2 weeks ago because I pretty much knew I clinched. I wasn't really afraid about the trash fires overtaking me for the number 1 seed, and I was doing the math, and the only way I could lose out of the number 1 seed was from the trash fires because everybody else was 4 wins behind. But then these last 2 weeks with these injuries, man, I don't know. The number 1 seed doesn't even. It feels great that I have a bye, but it feels more of a necessity than a luxury. And
right, you almost survived through those last 2 weeks. Yeah,
no, honestly, definitely. It was. I was actually really happy with the injuries on my team because I felt like I actually didn't get hit that hard. I lost Breece Hall, and that sucked. But that was the only major injury, and for how big our rosters are, I thought that was pretty good. And then it's oh wait, I forgot it. And then it's almost like the injury gods were like, oh, wait, no, we forgot about you. We just took out a few of my best players right there, my best running back. And
right, yeah, we've talked about the war of attrition here on this podcast. Just like the real NFL, there's a lot of luck involved in getting to the postseason. And just like in the NFL, a bye week isn't just, oh my gosh, I don't have to play another team. It also helps you with injuries. That's a whole week you now have to wait for somebody to come back and perform.
No, it's really good because Lamar is scheduled to come back on Christmas Eve, and then which is just thank God. It's
I don't know, buddy. I gotta tell you, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm not setting foot.
I don't know.
After watching Kyler Murray, I don't think he's going to.
If I'm Lamar Jackson, I wouldn't either. But if Lamar was like that, he would have sat out at the beginning of the year. It wouldn't have even played, right? But then he suited up still. So I just feel like he would.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so that being said, why don't you take us through the bracket real quick?
All right. Okay, let's start with the 3 and the 6 seed of the Trash Fires and the Atlanta Cicadas. I actually think the Atlanta Cicadas take this. I think that they just have such a talented team, and I feel like the Trash Fires have kind of skated by with these matchups that I don't want to say skated by because he was up, that team was up there for so long, but
right. I
don't know, these last few weeks it's I'm not saying I've had the great last few weeks, but I don't know, I just something about this team. It's just they really seem falling down to earth. So and this Atlanta Cicadas team is really star-studded and powerful. The Kyler injury, Murray is going to be pretty bad, but I still think they pull it out. Then the 4 and the 5 seed, which I think it might be one of the best matchups of the whole tournament, the GD Love and Tuggins Castle Rock Rockers. I think the Castle Rock Rockers take this one. I think I don't know. Their defensive linemen, I think specifically make just them such a hard person to match up with because like, man, I don't know, like some Micah or Max Crosby like pop off for 30 or sometimes they both do, and it's just so hard to like outdo that. So I've got those two advancing, at least specifically.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's your first round. So you've got, again, in the 3 and 6 matchup, you have Jared of the Atlanta Cicadas moving on, and
Yes.
you said that was due to like his depth. He's got a really good team.
And the Trash Card, I think, falling back down to earth a little bit. And
Gotcha. Yeah, and then the 4-5 game between myself and Jacob the TV11 Tudgaze, you've got them advancing.
I've got you advancing. I've got the Castle Rock Rockers advancing.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you have the Rockers advancing. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. What's your round 2 look like?
Round 2, Cicadas versus the Nukes. I got the Nukes advancing. I think the Nukes are they're a really complete team right now. I don't see anything there's like I would say they're like nothing they're specifically like weak in at all compared to like the Atlanta Cicadas, which I don't know. There's kind of it's a little bit of a hole at that quarterback position now. We talk about all their depth, right? But I don't know. They might be having to start Jared Goff. They probably have to start Jared Goff, who's not even that bad, but like that'll be their QB1, right? And then Tom Brady, who you hope has like a great game, but I don't know, it's not looking good. And then, which is why I think the Plano Nukes take it. It just seems to be pretty brutal, which is pretty bad for him because he seems to be such a win now team. And then for my matchup against the Castle Rock Rockers, I think it'll be a repeat of what happened the final match of the regular season. I think you take it. I just think your team's really good, and my team's getting hit by the injury bug. I don't know. I don't even want to admit this because I'm a realist if nothing else, and I think your team's gonna go to the championship. I think the podcast duo is gonna be the championship duo matchup. Yeah,
it looks like we've got our first Bad Owners podcast matchup, Nick.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We'll see. I hope that everything you're saying is correct. Who do you have winning that game?
I have you winning. I think you're gonna win. Garrett.
Man.
Very nice.
I'm gonna get jinxed. But
the championship game is Plano Nukes versus Castle Rock Rockers, with the Castle Rock Rockers winning it, according to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong, just straight up. Like, I hope that is not what happens at all. But like,
well, you of course hope that you win, right?
Yes, actually, yes. I do.
I mean,
I just came in. Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, seriously, but like, congrats on just an amazing season overall.
It was a great season. Yeah.
Yeah. Going into the season, I don't think that. I mean, we knew you'd have a good team, but I don't think that anybody consistently ranked you as like, even talent-wise, like the best team.
Honestly, I thought I had a great draft coming out, but then no one else thought I did, and I almost like I thought too much of like no one else thought I killed the draft.
You slipped under the radar for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You had, some off-season moves, some in-season moves as well.
Yeah.
But you still have retained a lot of draft capital. So regardless of what happens, I think you're going to have a really good 2023 as well. So why don't you finish this off by telling us why your team could win it all?
My team could win it all because kind of what I've been doing the whole year. Like, I'm the 1 seed. I feel like I've got the most talent, the most depth, honestly. And the only thing that could beat me is injuries. Like, you saw it. Like, these last few weeks, just injuries kept bringing me down. And that's really about it. I feel like I've got one of the most complete teams on paper, and I don't know. I feel like anyone on this team can pop off. They're either a star, they can be a star. It's only a matter of time. That's why I think I'm going to win. Well, that's why I think I can win.
Right.
I think we'll win. But.
Well, best of luck to you. Hopefully your predictions don't come true and you actually do end up winning the championship for your own sake. But
I don't know. I think this guy's pretty smart. I don't think he's giving enough
right.
I think he's a great predictor of games.
All right. Well, best of luck to you, and we'll see if we see. Well, we'll definitely see you next week because you have the bye week this week. So we'll see your thoughts then.
All right, our second bracket comes from Nick of the Plano Nukes. He is my co-host here on the Dimes and Donuts podcast. We've been through a lot together this year, and now I finally get to see where he thinks his team and, frankly, my team and everybody's team are going to stack up here in the playoffs. So, Nick, why don't you take us through it?
Absolutely. And let me just say, I am, if you told me at the start of the season, before the season played a single match, that I was going to get a bye, I would say, obviously. But if you had told me on week 3 of the season that I was going to get a bye, I'd say, listen, man, I'm blowing everything up. So I am so happy.
Wait, were you legitimately planning on blowing things up this season?
Well, remember, I sold off a ton of assets and got a ton of picks. But then the Dallas Clovers were going for that same sort of... I was not happy with the first 2 weeks. And, looking back on it, it was a little early to be
You guys were
panicking.
both of you were so premature in your panicking.
Right.
Like, I think one of
Agreed.
the reasons that we like where the no Robins were is because, they sold assets like at the trade deadline when everybody else was desperate and they knew exactly where their team was.
Agreed. No,
Like,
100%.
not knowing what your team and then immediately blowing it up after 2 weeks of the season would have been a dumb move.
Sure. But so all those moves and trades that I made, I moved a lot of pieces around, acquired a ton of picks, and then with Dallas Clovers and a few other teams wanting picks, I just decided, okay, you know what? Screw it. Roll it all together. Let's go for it. And just buy a bunch of assets instead of, rolling the dice in the draft. And because it ended up working out, because I did it so early, I think that's why I'm where I am now. So I'm excited for it. I'm very happy with how the season's ended up going. You can't be upset going into the playoffs as the second seed with a bye week. And so there you have it.
Yeah, no, you had a great season for sure. Okay, so take me through round 1 of the playoffs.
Okay, so round 1 in the Castle Rock Rockers versus TD Love and Tudgaze matchup, I think the Castle Rock Rockers have it in the bag. I think that...
Hold up. In the bag?
Oh, yeah, easy. And let me explain. I think the TD Love and Tudgaze are very good. They're a very good team. And if they win, honestly, you can't call it an upset. I put them as the number 1 team last week, right? I was looking at the past few weeks just because I was curious about checking out everyone's matchups and all that other stuff. Your team is just on fire right now. It's on such a huge upswing. I think a lot of other teams are dealing with, injuries and just question marks in other areas, which admittedly the TD Love and Tudgaze are not. I think I still stand by that they're like, I don't know, it's tricky. You two are just in a tier of your own, but I do think that your team, if I had to put money on one, your team just has such a high ceiling compared to everyone else that I think that if I had to bet on one of you two, it's you that's going to end up winning it.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
That's
enough.
that first matchup.
Give me the second.
Moving on to the Atlanta Cicadas versus the Trash Fires. I've got the Atlanta Cicadas winning that one. I've kind of been a Trash Fires hater all season. They keep blowing me away and keep winning, and at a certain point, I think I ended up even ranking them as the number 1 because I'm like, you know what, they just keep winning. But I just don't get it. I don't get how they were winning. I don't believe in the team. I don't believe in the talent that's on that team compared to the other playoff teams, and so I just have them, unfortunately, making an early first-round exit. The funny thing, too, I was looking at this. I think that the Trash Fires are going to be in kind of a weird situation because if they get out early, if they had missed the playoffs, they'd be the 2nd overall pick in the draft.
Well, that wouldn't have mattered much because they did give away a lot of early trade assets for Olave. So it's not like they would have had the 2nd overall pick. Like,
sure, but
could it have helped them in other rounds?
Yeah.
Sure, but this team wasn't going to miss the playoffs. Like you said, I haven't been like the biggest Trash Fire supporter, but the results speak for themselves. If you do look at this team, I mean, they have really good quarterback play this year, like Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins. That's one of the best quarterback pairings this year, at least, that anybody has. Like, it's pretty good. Their wide receiver room isn't terrible. They drafted a lot of rookies this year, so they're already looking towards the future, and they're the 3rd seed this year. Like, I think that we may need to pump the brakes a little bit on Trash Fire hate, but
no, I mean, look, they made the playoffs. They won. They have been killing it. They're the 3rd seed.
Yeah,
I'm still not convinced.
There you go.
They are the 3rd seed, right? I think so. Actually, no.
No, the Tudgaze are the 3rd seed.
Yeah, actually, right? They're dropping the 4th seed, right?
They dropped down to the 4th seed, correct?
Yeah, so
this week was a bad swing for them.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. I see the Atlanta Cicadas edging them out. I've always thought they were a strong team. Now, going into the 2nd round, Irving into covers Castle Rock Rockers. I once again have the Castle Rock Rockers winning that one. I don't think that it's going to be as clean of a matchup. I think the issue with the first round, TD Love and Tudgaze versus Castle Rock Rockers, is that TD Love and Tudgaze are a very consistently good scoring team. And I think that the Castle Rockers just recent swing of huge blowout match is going to win this one. I think Irving Indica has just as much potential to have a massive week. And so this is a little more up in the air, but I think Castle Rockers more consistently pops off. So I'm going to give the edge to the Castle Rockers.
Okay, gotcha.
Now,
and then
in the other round 2
game.
matchup, Plano Nukes versus the Atlanta Cicadas, I have my own team moving forward. I think the Atlanta Cicadas have been struggling a lot at the end of the season. Historically, throughout the whole season, they've had some management issues, I think. And I think that we're on a bit more of an upswing, and so I think that we're going to edge them out. And we actually just played this previous week, of course, and I beat them there. So why can't we do it again, right? So
yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
I think that's fair. I think that matchup is probably, other than my first round matchup with the Tudgays, I think that's going to be an awesome one. If that does pan out, I think you guys are going to be super, super close, because you're both like that stereotypical 280 to 290 team like every week, you know? So I feel like that could be a 1 or 2 point match, and it would be very, very exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Come Monday Night Football.
And then, of course, the championship match, right? The one everyone's, of course, looking forward to. I see there's us playing each other, Castle Rockers versus Plano Nukes. And unfortunately, if I'm being realistic, I do have the Castle Rockers edging my team out in the championship match. I, of course, hope that doesn't end up happening, but I think that your team just has, once again, that super high ceiling and ability to just blow up weeks. Which makes me nervous. Now,
and so another Dimes and Donuts Bowl. That's back to back. So Brad just said that he wanted a Dimes and Donuts Bowl.
We actually
you
have the
think it'll be a
exact
Dimes
same.
and Donuts
We actually have the
Bowl.
exact
you have
same
the
bracket.
exact same bracket.
Yeah.
So still, I mean, we'll see. I think that as we talk to more people, I think that's definitely going to change. I think you have a solid choice just about everywhere. But again, the teams are so evenly matched at this point in the season. I think these are the bona fide 6 playoff teams. These are the teams that should be here. So we'll see. But I like your picks.
Awesome.
All right, so up next as the 3 seed in the Bad Owners League, we have Brandon, the owner of the Trash Fires, to talk about his team and then to talk about where he thinks the other teams are going to land.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Sure.
I wish I had better news for my team this week. I was usurped. As you heard, Garrett say, I was usurped from 2nd place to 3rd place by the Plano Nukes. So pretty unfortunate there, but that's just how it goes sometimes. It's that low points for catching back up to me. The Nukes and I have a tied record, but as discussed, my team has hit very low points for all season, and that's bit me here with the Nukes overtaking me for that bye week. But to kind of talk about the rounds, my brackets, my predictions. So for round 1, of course, we've got the Indicas in their bye week. But looking at that first matchup, the Tudgays versus the Castle Rock Rockers, I have picked the Tudgays to win. So Castle Rock Rockers, yeah, I know, an upset here, right? And I think everybody will agree that this is an upset, right? We've seen Castle Rock Rockers, Garrett, you can attest to this.
I don't know if it's an upset. I think that I've been picking the Tudgays to be extremely high. I think I had us as 1-2 in the previous week's power rankings.
I had them as 1-2 as well.
Yeah,
wow.
I think it's a amazing matchup, and I think that it stinks that it has to be so early.
Yeah,
personally.
Absolutely.
But I don't think that it's I don't think that you're picking an underdog here at all. Like, the Tudgays have proven to be an incredible team.
No, they have. You're right. And I mean, there's a reason they're in the playoffs. But at the same time, we can't forget about the Castle Rock Rockers' performance in the previous weeks, right? You've been hitting 350 to 400, even over 400 for the past 3-4 weeks in a row. I mean, your team is really coming out crushing. There's no question that you've got some serious talent. Obviously, the Tudgays do too. But I think sooner than later it's gonna stop paying off, and you're gonna have something happen. It's not gonna hit that 300, 350 plus that you've been hitting.
Totally
so
fair.
I've got the Tudgays winning there. Moving further down the list, of course, we've got the other bye, and then it's me versus the Cicadas. So here, looking at the projection, I am projected to lose right now with my lineup set. But I think I've just got to go with it here. I've been the underdog in a lot of matchups in previous weeks that I've ended up winning, and I think that's going to happen here. I've got to go with my team, go with my instincts, and just predict myself to win over the Cicada.
Right.
So that'll put round 2 at Indica versus Tudgaze, and the Nukes versus the Trash Fire. So moving on to that, I have picked the Irving Indica to beat Tudgaze. So this one is a little on the fence, I'd say. I mean, the Indicas are a great team. Obviously, there's a reason they're in first place. But I think, if you look at raw talent, while Indica does have a lot of star pieces, I think that the Tudgaze have a lot more depth to them. So I think that'll be an interesting matchup. But at the same time, I do think that the Indicas are gonna edge it out. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Because truth be told, if I do make it to that championship round, I would rather be facing the Indicas than the Tudgaze.
Right.
So that's who I've got winning that round. Then moving on to that second round, me versus the Nukes, Trash Fires versus the Nukes. Of course, like I said, I'm going with myself here. I think my team can really do it and really seal the deal this round as well. Don't have great reasoning for that. Obviously, we've seen the Nukes with a great come up, ending up in second place for the regular season. So it'll be a really interesting game. I think it's probably about an even talent level, looking at the teams themselves, the Nukes, Trash Fires. But like I said, I'm going with me to get the dub that round. And then looking at that championship, with my prediction, right, that would put me the Trash Fires versus Irving Indica, and I've picked myself to win, right? So
okay.
I think yeah.
There we have it. Very nice. No, keep going. That's awesome.
Yeah,
right?
why? You give us a why.
Why? Yeah, why?
Wrap this
why?
up because
Yeah,
that's all
absolutely,
great.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, no,
why?
awesome.
Yeah, so Irving Indica, right? I've said it before. They've got some really star pieces. I think I have some star pieces too. But I think that if and when we both get to the championships, I think that the people that I have on my team, when we're talking about Chris Olave, talking about Kenneth Walker, which hopefully Kenneth Walker will be back on the field by then. But when we're talking about those pieces, it's just really hard to predict. It's Chris Olave and Kenneth Walker's first season, right? They're both highly ranked star rookies, and I think while it can be hard to predict what's going to happen with them, if I can get them both on my, on the field, well, quote unquote on the field, on my starting roster for that week, I think they could really, do what star rookies do best and pull in a lot of points, a lot of touchdowns there, and hopefully just push me over the top versus Indica.
Okay. Well, so it looks like you're kind of banking on a few guys coming back, a few guys hopefully staying healthy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's also banking on some people to stay unhealthy if he's
Yeah.
Very true.
No, honestly, yeah. I mean that. If you look at the projected points versus what I've picked, there's at some point I'm basically banking that star players are going to get injured on some of these. And that's
Nice.
that's not necessarily a good strategy. But like I said, I've got to go with myself here. I've been pretty humble about my positioning all season, and I do think luck has had a lot to do with it. But I'm just fingers crossed that I can seal the deal this year.
Awesome. Okay, well, best of luck to you. You have the Trash Fires winning it all. Your own team. I respect the homer pick. Of course, I can't have any room to talk about homer picks, but but no, hey, best of luck to you. We'll see how it all turns out.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll have you on
Having
next
me,
week
guys.
if you're still in it.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see. But thanks so much, guys. I appreciate your time.
All right, so next up we've got Jake of the TD Love and Tudgaze. Jake, you have done an amazing job this season. You've got one of the most high-powered offenses in the league, and now we want to ask you what the playoffs are going to look like. So why don't you take us into your first round matchup against the Rockers?
Oh man, I'm excited for this. I mean, it feels like, we were just finishing up drafting like a week ago, but I can't believe it's already playoff time. But yeah, so my matchup this week, honestly, I'm worried about it. Garrett, your team seems to get hot. You just put up 340 points last week. So I think you're taking this one. Obviously, I'm hoping for my team. But yeah, after seeing that 340 last week, I'm a little scared.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game for sure. I think it sucks that we have to play each other so early because I think we might have made an awesome Super Bowl. But we'll see. It's just the way it worked out. So then you've got the Atlanta Cicadas and the Trash Fires. Who do you think is going to take that one?
Oh, I'm thinking Trash Fires all the way. I think it's the best managed team in the league. His players might not, be the best, but he always plays the right ones. So yeah, I think the best manager will win this matchup, and yeah, that's Trash Fires.
That's awesome. That would be like I think that's an underdog pick. I think we can safely say that.
I think that is an underdog pick, but I think that the logic makes sense, right? I mean, he's been winning with subpar talent all season. Why can't that continue into the playoffs, right?
Well, that's what's so fun about that matchup is you're taking arguably the worst manager and arguably the best manager and playing against each other.
True.
One has great talent, one doesn't. So
Atlanta Cicadas are pushing the, I think, second best max points for.
Yeah. No, I think they have the best max.
Did they? They did retake it. Yeah, they're at the best max points for, and the Trash Fires are at the second worst max points for, only above a team that is full out tanking. So
100%.
Wow.
Yeah, that's going to be a crazy game. Okay, so if you've got myself advancing, that means that I would play the Irving Indica. So that's Rockers Indica for week 2.
Man, I mean, I was, talking with my brother who also co-owns it, and we're thinking Prad takes it all the way this year. His team has been consistent throughout the entire, season. I've only seen like maybe 1 or 2 rough weeks for him, but even, when he loses the week-to-week matchup, he still beats the league. So I'm taking Prad in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, Prad is a great median choice like every single week. For sure. Puts up pretty consistent points. So yeah, we'll have the Irving Indica advancing to the finals then. Next, you've got the Plano Nukes and the Trash Fires.
Oh man, for this one, I got to go with my boy Nick. The Plano Nukes, I think they had a slow start to the season, but if you look at what they've done in the second half of the season, I think he has his team on point. They're catching fire just at the right time. And I just don't think that Trash Fires have the caliber to keep up with the Nukes.
Gotcha. There's definitely a player discrepancy there. I mean, anyone the Trash Fires play, they're definitely going to have to outcoach in order to get that victory. So that's some sound logic for sure.
All right. And then the championship matchup, Plano Nukes versus Irving Indica. Who do you have taking it all? I know you already kind of said it, but talk to us about that matchup.
Yeah, so I already spoiled it earlier, but yeah, I'm definitely taking the Irving Indica. Just like I said, I can't see them losing. Their team has been, I think, the best throughout the whole season, and I don't see why it would end even in the championship round. I think the Nukes have a great team, but I don't think anyone in this league is keeping up with the Irving Indica this year.
Okay.
Very cool. Yeah. Another great game. We've talked about it a lot, but any matchup this year is awesome. So that's your final. Now, talk to us a little bit about your team. We haven't had you on the podcast yet this year, so this is a lot of people's first introduction to hearing you speak. So why would your team win it all? What have you done well? What does your team do well?
I think my top half of players are amongst the best of the league, but there's a huge drop off in the skill level. I got guys like Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, who are, obviously consistent week to week. But, at the tight end spot, I'm lacking. I have Foster Moreau, backup tight end. But and even down the depth chart with my flexes, they're very inconsistent. But when I do have my wins, it's usually carried, from my top guys. My receivers and Derrick Henry. And then James Conner's been catching up here late in the season, which I've been happy with. Definitely unexpected. So for me to win, I would say James Conner has a big week, and then my flex players step up. And yeah, I think that's my way to the top is if I just catch, my team catches fire, everyone's putting up big numbers these next 3 weeks. I think it's a far out chance, but definitely possible.
All right. Well, hopefully, of course, you predicted yourself having an early first round exit, but hopefully, of course, for your own sake, that doesn't end up happening. And, we'll see you on next week if you end up beating out the Castle Rock Rockers. All right, now up next as our 5th seed, we have Garrett of the Cast Rock Rockers, the other host. You all know him. He doesn't know you, probably, but here we go. Garrett.
Yeah, I know
what do you
nobody.
have for us?
That's my thing. Okay, so yeah, I'm here at the 5th seed. Was definitely hoping to be higher than this, but we've got a lot of momentum going into the playoffs right now. I have, unfortunately, the worst part of the bracket to be in, so I don't have high hopes for my chances. I've gone over matchups and everything, so we'll just do round 1 first. So that's between myself and Jake of the TD11 Tudgaze. I had the Tudgaze ranked 2nd and the Irving Indica ranked 3rd in our last week's power rankings, and myself ranked 1st. Now, although I had myself ranked 1st, I think because of matchups this week, like if it was honestly any other week, based on his amazing offensive talent and like who they're playing, I'm gonna have to give that matchup to the TD11 Tudgaze. And unfortunately, after talking so much smack, and honestly still barely, well, not barely anymore, but like making the playoffs tougher, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go Tudgaze in before me on that matchup.
Dang, okay.
Yeah, sad stuff. And then the second game that week is going to be the Atlanta Cicadas and the Trash Fires. I am taking the Atlanta Cicadas in a big one. I think this will be the most lopsided game of the rest of the playoffs. I don't want to spread, again, like we talked about earlier, too much Trash Fire hate, but at the same time, I really don't believe in the team that much, especially, come playoff time. If you give me like, one game, you gotta win it, I am not going to choose the Trash Fires of that team to do that. So just because of talent, hopefully the Atlanta Cicadas set their lineup correctly. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Cicadas.
Okay.
So yeah, now we've got round 2. So we have the 2 bye-week teams now participating. Up at the top of the bracket, we've got the Irving Indica against the TD11 Tudgaze. I'm going to give this one to the Irving Indica. Now, I love the TD11 Tudgaze, but I think that because a lot of their skill players are, going to be playing in like a crazy matchup in week 15, there's usually like a fall down, downward trend off of those kind of games. So I'm going to take the Irving Indica because I think if Lamar's not back in week 15, he should be back in week 16. If I was him, again, I would not set foot on the field. But I think that he will. So I'm going to take the Irving Indica in a close one, mind you, coming off that rested bye week, and they will advance to the championship round. And then the next game between your team, the Plano Nukes, and Jared's team, the Atlanta Cicadas, I am going with the Atlanta Cicadas.
Oh, you hurt me. All right.
I know. I'm sorry. I can't believe you got the bye week. I think that's great. I think that's awesome. Good for you. You'll be in the 3rd place match because you will lose. But I just think that like karmically, like from a universe standpoint, we have probably we talk a lot of Trash Fire hate.
Yep.
But we also talk a lot of Atlanta Cicada hate. And I think like the bounce back, beat 'em up game potential here is huge because the Atlanta Cicadas, say what you will, they still have like 2 of the top 10 scoring weeks in the league. And they have a team that, can, unfortunately for you, go nuclear, right? Like at any point. Whereas your team, you will win a consistency game, you will win a drawn out, bash him up kind of like really close game, but I feel like this is trending more towards he's going to beat you by like 30 points.
Okay.
And like the 300s. Like if you can't score in the 300s in this part of the playoffs, that's a problem. You haven't done it too much this year. I mean, you have done it. I don't want to say your team is bad. Your team is really, really good. If you were playing in one of the first rounds against these teams, maybe, but I don't know. It could be the bye week curse. It could be the Atlanta Cicada hate karma finally coming around and biting you. But I am going to take the finals to be a matchup between the Irving Indica and the Atlanta Cicadas.
All right.
And then I'm going to take the Irving Indica in an absolute blowout. Because if I have the Atlanta Cicadas winning 2 games in a row, there is no way in hell they're winning 3 games in a row. because that's just what they do. That's just the season. And yeah, I'm going to have the Irving Indica as the champions of Bad Owners Season 1.
Wow. Okay. So what would you say? So you have yourself going out in the early first round, which I'm sure, of course, you don't want to happen, right?
Oh, of course I don't. And I'd like to point out that, like, if I was playing literally any other team in the first round, I would have picked myself. Even the Irving Indica, like, I would have picked myself. But because it was the Tudgays and because of what their matchups are looking like right now, like, that game should have been the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Like, that game is going to be insane, and I do not think I'm going to come out on top.
So what would you say is the one thing, if you could say one thing that has to go right for you to be able to win it all, what would you say it is?
The defense stepping up. Okay. So, well, actually, no. I'm going to say my offense stepping up because my defense is pretty consistent. I've got fail-safes in place. Like, I've got, I think right now, all of my linebackers, I'm starting 4 of them, technically 5 if you include Micah, but the people that are starting in my IDP and my linebacker slots are all projected like 19 plus points. So that's huge. My defensive line, if one of them goes off, we're good there. Really, I've got some injury concerns with a couple players. I know Najee Harris might be out, Amari Cooper might be out. But yeah, I really need my offense to finally start carrying the load, which, they've done these last 4 weeks. My offense has been pretty good, but I just need them to continue that trend because I cannot go up against the TD11 Tudgays and have the offense not do well.
All right. Well, on that note, let's move on to our last seed.
All right. So last, but certainly not least, especially when you consider the Max 4 department, we have Jared of the Atlanta Cicadas. How are you doing, Jared?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for coming on. We wanted to talk about your team. You were projected to win the whole thing at the beginning. We want to see where your thoughts are now, based on your team, how you've been doing. So let's just jump into week 1. So just let's start with my matchup against the Tudgays. So Castle Rock Rockers and the TD11 Tudgays. Who do you have in that matchup?
I have the Castle Rock Rockers. I think it can be a close matchup. I definitely think the Levin Tudgays have the potential, but right now, the Castle Rock Rockers, they're doing well. They're kind of doing the best they ever have, I think.
Right.
And they're not plagued by injuries.
Yeah, definitely. Both teams, really. This is like the health bowl between the TD11 Tudgays and the Castle Rock Rockers. They haven't had like any major season-ending injuries that really screwed their teams up. So great analysis there. Okay, so next we've got the, your team, the Atlanta Cicadas, and the Trash Fires. Who do you think is going to come out on top in that match?
Now, if you asked me a few hours ago, I would have said myself. And I still think I stand by that. But with the now known Kyler Murray ACL injury, it's definitely rough.
Right.
It's amazing how many injuries you've sustained this year, though. It just goes to show you have really good depth.
Yeah, I'm like 6 right now, at least. And I've probably got dropped some. It's not been good.
So you think that's enough to like really kind of shaken your chances at winning this upcoming week?
I still think I can win. I think it'll be close.
But ultimately, you have who coming out of that matchup?
Myself. I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Cicadas.
Okay, perfect. Gotcha. So in week 1, we had 2 bye-week teams that did not participate. They will participate in week 2. So at the top of the bracket, we would have the Irving Indica playing the Castle Rock Rockers based on your bracket. So who do you have coming out of that matchup?
The Castle Rock Rockers. That's I think that's an easy one.
Ooh, an easy one.
Wow. I do.
Why do you think it's an easy one?
I think without Lamar Jackson, the Irving Indica are not present.
Okay.
Yeah, they did state very early on in the season that they live and die by their Lamar pick, and we've seen that happen in certain games. He could come back. We don't know what that situation is. Like, he could play, he might not play. So yeah, that is definitely a super, super important decision that the Ravens and Lamar are definitely going to make. That has massive implications for the league. So you're going to take the Rockers in that match. Then you have the Plano Nukes against yourself. So the two of y'all will be facing off in your scenario here. So who do you have coming out of that one?
I do have the Plano Nukes, I think.
Wow.
I think this is where my team starts to fall apart. I don't know if my injury-plagued team can beat the Nukes. Although he does have a lot of injuries himself, he still has most of his stars, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a lot of injuries. I've been killed with them, but yeah, that is fair. A lot of my injuries have been to depth pieces, and I do think that a lot of the key starters that have been injured on my team, I mean, I've said it all season, I think my team has depth, right? So I think that we've been able to do next man up pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the glass bones and paper skin matchup between you guys. So if you've got the Nukes coming out, then you would have the Castle Rock Rockers and the Plano Nukes playing for the championship. And this would be the third and final time, because you're our last person up, that somebody has predicted a Dimes and Donuts Super Bowl. Which is pretty crazy, Nick. How do you feel about that?
I'm a big fan. I mean, again, like I said earlier, right, in this episode, I'm just happy that, like if you told me after week 2 when I was 0-4 and I was right, like, man, it feels good to have the bye week. That's for sure.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win the championship? I skipped over
That's a good question. I am going to go with the Castle Rock Rockers.
All right. That's fair.
I think their winning streak is they're pretty hot right now.
True. Yeah, I'm definitely not looking forward to hopefully facing them.
Right. Yeah. So many things have to happen for that scenario to play out, but yeah, I'd say overwhelming favorite going into the playoffs, though, based on everybody's predictions. So, okay. Yeah, back to what I was originally saying before I got way out of turn. If everything was to go right for the Atlanta Cicadas and you were going to get to the championship, what does that look like? Like, what has to happen for your team? What is your, like, ideal path? What do you think is going to happen?
I think for that to happen, we're going to have Tom Brady actually try to secure these these last season wins so he can get to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we also got to have some of my running backs actually perform as they should be doing. Kind of, Alvin Kamara has to perform to high standards. Fournette has to. Saquon Barkley, of course, and then I'm hoping Josh Jacobs, questionable right now, but hopefully he is still in it for this weekend.
Right.
Yeah, the Raiders have been running him into the ground this season, so yeah, definitely want to make sure that he's healthy. He's put up huge weeks for you before. It sounds like you're mainly focused on your offense performing. Are you just that confident in your defense, or is offense where your real playmakers are?
I'm pretty confident in my defense. I think,
nice.
While they're not always consistent, there's enough of them that there's always a couple that perform well enough to like hold the entire defense up. It's always changing, but they're always there.
Right.
Awesome. Well, that about closes us out. That's the 6th and final bracket that we've got. So yeah, Jared, owner of the Atlanta Cicadas, thank you so much for coming on. We look forward to having you for a full episode next year, for season 2. And, we look forward to your team doing well, because then you'll be on next week as well.
Yeah.
So we seriously appreciate the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for
Hopefully
having me,
it goes a little bit better than your predictions are, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people predict like first round matchups for their own teams, like first round exits. So yeah, that's just.
Well, this is a second round exit, but yeah.
Yeah, second round exit, but still not making it all the way there. But that's awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Jared.
Thank you.